I'm your host, Kevin Benoit, founder of Parlay Magazine with
Penny Blackwright, your number one best-selling author in romance and erotica. Hey, everybody.
a per usual, we're gonna kick it over with some entertainment news. It wasn't too crazy entertainment wise this week, so it's just gonna be a quick recap of everything that's been going on. So quickly, Sean Kingston got arrested. He's facing like 10 charges of thievery. I know. Penny B. Penny B. That's a guy from the 2010 era. I'm not sure what he did, so I'm not gonna throw him under the bus. He was arrested. His mom was arrested. Fraud and theft charges. It's not looking good, but we'll see how it all plays out. And it looks like charges in Florida. So, of course, he's originally from Miami. So that took place. Peter Rosenberg came out and gonna tell his story backwards, but Peter Rosenberg came out against Chef G and Sleepy Hollow because they were at the Donald Trump Bronx rally situation, basically supporting Trump for president. I think rappers. So Peter Rosenberg is saying that they should be removed from the Summer Jam lineup because of it, right? Like because which is a weird thing, right? Peter Rosen. So a lot of comments I saw in regards to that story is like Peter Rosenberg is this Jewish guy trying to tell Hot 97 what to do with their black artists is a little weird, right? It'd be different if it's Funk Flex or one of the black personalities, but that's just it's weird to come from him. But it's also not like Chef G and Sleepy Hollow are the first artists to support Trump. That's definitely not the case. I mean, even Lil Wayne supports Trump, right? Like, and mind you, a lot of these artists do it. Chef G and Sleepy Hollow are facing charges in New York City. They may do a lot of jail time. So I think they're preemptively trying to get in the good graces of Trump because he's previously given pardons to Lil Wayne, Kodak Black, and a few others. So it's kind of smart to line yourself up with him if he does, which he probably still might win this upcoming election. So yeah, another conversation for another day, but hard to not talk about him. I guess I was gonna wait, but he was also convicted of 34 felonies this week, all related to fraud and basically paying off someone and acting like it was regular legal payments. So he paid off this woman he slept with, former porn star Stormy Daniels. I mean, it's not allegedly anymore, but so essentially he's convicted of paying her off. He continues to deny it. He says he didn't, but it's conviction. So I actually didn't think he was going to be convicted. Michael Cohen, who was one of the star witnesses, his former lawyer, also admitted on the stand that he stole money from him, admitted that he hates him, admitted, like, it's just to have that be the star witness and have that, you get on stand and admit that you stole millions of dollars from this man, it seems like a bad witness. But nonetheless, 34 felony counts. He will be sentenced in July. I believe it's July. It might be June. But the interesting thing, and I said this even before, if a sitting president or a former president gets arrested and goes to jail and has to do jail time, the Secret Service has to be in that prison with him. So taxpayers would literally be paying Trump's staff while he's in prison. And I think that would be the craziest part of all this. Sure. I don't think he's going to get prison time at all. But the fact that we would literally be paying, and this was in New York, so New Yorkers would be paying Trump's staff while he's in prison, because the Secret Service follows you for your entire life if you're a former person. So they literally would have to, whatever the prison is, Secret Service would have to set up shop in that prison.
Wow.
Round the clock.
That's interesting. No, that is, see, we don't think about these things, but that
Round the
is
clock.
a big part of it, because it affects, if you're a New Yorker and you work and you're a taxpayer, it affects you. So thank God I live in New Jersey now.
Listen, like it's one of those things. Like, again, I don't think he's actually gonna get prison time, but then to have 34 counts with no prison time is still. I said from the beginning, I don't want to make this a political conversation, but it's hard not to have this conversation, right? Like I said from the beginning, this felt like a waste of time. It feels like a waste of time. I get that. New York wanted to be first. I get that they wanted to get a conviction on the books. They got it. Does this change his chance at being president? He can still run. He's still going to be the Republican nominee. He's still going to debate Biden. It doesn't really change anything. Does it change perception amongst his following? Everything I've seen on social media tells me that all they are saying is it's a miscarriage of justice, right?
Literally. Literally.
So will they actually turn out more to vote for him? Like, I think that's the thing. Sometimes, Democrats and the left wants to believe that if you do good or if you do what you say you're going to do, it all works out, right?
Right.
Doesn't always happen, right? Like,
no.
You're really igniting this base and letting them know that, listen, these people are about to come out in droves and say
that it was injustice.
Right.
And that, because I've already seen some posts from some people that I would say I admired on social media, and I'm just like, this is interesting. Like, I seen Grant Cardone's wife, Elena Cardone, she actually posted a picture of her and Trump saying that there's a GoFundMe that they're raising money for Trump. Yeah. And somebody wrote in the comments and said, you and Grant are billionaires. Why don't you guys help? Like, why are you asking? So people are coming out in droves supporting this man, saying it's, like you said, it's some kind of injustice. And that right there is what you call that redneck loyalty. Like, that's what I would call it.
But that's the crazy thing, because it's not only white folks, right? Like, DJ Academics literally posted, and again, talk about somebody with a huge platform. Whether you think he's corny or not, he still has a huge platform. He put up last night talking about Trump was indicted for, or Trump wasn't convicted for paying off his hoes. His words. Trump was convicted for paying off his hoes. That actually makes me want to vote for him more. I'm not saying that's an exact quote, because I'm doing this off the top of my head, but pretty much what I read from DJ Academics last night. So, unfortunately, I just don't think that's going to sway the vote the way people want to. It's a bigger conversation, and we'll save that for another day. I truly feel like with Black people, with hip hop, we've had an unhealthy obsession with Trump since before he was president.
Agreed.
I continue to. There's so many songs from the 90s. I listen to 90s hip hop. There's so many songs stacking chips like Trump, getting money like Trump. There's so many artists that gave him shout outs way before. Even with the what was the show called? Whatever the show was. Lil Jon was on it.
Celebrity Apprentice?
Apprentice. Even with Apprentice, like, people it's the weirdest thing to me, like how much love he's received from hip hop. And now hip hop is so fractured because you have the Chef G's of the world. And, I'm not a Chef G, Sleepy Hollow fan. They're young kids, and, a lot of their music is about spin the block and things like that. But that younger audience is in love with it. Whether that audience votes, that's another question totally, right? And it's New York. We also know New York's going to be Democratic regardless. But it's a nationwide thing, and he has supporters nationwide. Every poll I've seen still has Trump winning. So,
well, you know what I think, and this is just my tidbit when it comes to this political conversation about Trump. I think that his appeal to Black people, even before him running and things like that, I really think that it has to do with him just being this businessman. Him being, a businessman who's about his money. He's unfiltered. He kind of has always been, even before he started running, like he's kind of always been, unfiltered. And, I just think, I'm gonna always say this. I believe that the reason why Trump won, period, is because he had one of the best campaigns. Make America Great Again, great slogan, great idea behind it, and it gave a lot of people hope, especially, people in middle America and people who, West Virginia. It gave people hope. Like, you have to think about the 2 terms we had of Obama, a Black president in a white country, because this is predominantly a white country statistically. So a Black president in a white country, when Trump came with Make America Great Again, I believe that it gave Americans hope. I believe that it gave white Americans hope. I believe that even the appeal to Black people, I feel like Black people who don't have an immigrant background, or maybe a Caribbean background, an African background, any type of connection to, just the immigrant conversation. I think that Make America Great Again also appealed to just Black Americans, because, his whole platform and his whole it's his entire platform, as well as his message, has just been America, America manufacturing, American this, American that. Let's get the immigrants out. So I think that he appeals to that American. And I think for Black Americans who don't have that connection, any type of immigrant connection, it's like, these Mexicans are coming over here taking our jobs. Well, respectfully, they're working jobs that you couldn't work anyway, like legally. So what are we really talking about? So I think that that's his appeal. He just gave people hope. And, he has that Black flair, that, that rebellion, that I'm gonna say it like it is. I'm unfiltered. And I think that, Black people in the hood, especially, I think that they appreciate that. I also think that, people credit him in the hood for the stimulus checks. They credit him for pardoning, people. A lot of, outside of Lil Wayne and Kodak being really pardoned, a lot of people were released from jail during COVID because of Trump. So I think that it's a whole dynamic when it comes. It's like a psychological dynamic when it comes to why Black people support Trump or why they like Trump. And I also think, I remember when Trump was running for president. This is in 2015, and I was actually a part of this fellowship, diversity and inclusion fellowship with the CUNY Graduate School of Journalism. We was doing a lot of reporting at the time. And I remember he had a press conference when he basically said something, I'm not quoting him directly, but he alluded to something of the fact that, like, well, this doesn't really affect Black people anyway. Like, he said something to that extent, to that extent. So I think that Black people who understand their position in this country, being like, I am Black, racism is never gonna go anywhere. So if you're not focusing on me and you focusing on the immigrants, hey, we cool. So I think it's a whole psychological dynamic as to why Black people support Trump. So that's my tidbit on that. As far as who I support, to me, when it comes to politics, I feel like whether you're Democratic or whether you're Republican, these people are friends. These people work together. They be on the Trump golf course playing golf. Like, this is like, these people, all of their families are protected. The Obamas are protected. The Trumps are protected. The Bushes are protected. Like, it's just they all work together. Like, at the end of the day, it's work. That's it. It's work that affects people's lives. So.
You might have coworkers that you don't like, but they still your coworkers. You still see them all the time. You're still hanging out with them. So, I mean, that's another conversation. And just to wrap it up, as much as I mean, yes, certain black people are Trump fans, but he's winning with the Latinos as well, right? Latinos, and again, this isn't to say that all black people. This isn't to say all Latinos, but that's a huge pool of his population. As much as he talks about immigration and sending people back, there are immigrants that are still, or people from some of these countries that are still supporters, just because they feel like, you know what, they are competition, right? Like, it is extra people coming that don't need to be here, and I'm still trying to get my feet together. Plus, it's like, oh, it's too easy. I had to do this and this to get here, and these people just like, now I'm there. So yeah, he better get on it, right? So it's some of that happening as well. But again, I'm sure we can have a lot of Trump conversations, and it's going to be a long year. Vybz Kartel wasn't let out of jail. Since we talking about jail, Vybz Kartel.
Free Adi, please.
He was excited. They thought he was coming home. It's not looking good.
He wasn't, but
it's not looking good. And I'm always big on like, yo, if he actually did it, man, he can stay where he at. Like, I'm not that person.
You know what's so interesting about the Vybz Kartel situation? There's a cognitive dissonance about Vybz Kartel. You have people in the U.S., whether they are Caribbean descent or not, that have a particular perception of him. And then you have people in Jamaica that have a whole different perception of him. Yeah. And they have a perception of the crime and the things that, he really contributes to. So it's a different conversation, because when like me and my dad talk about it, born and raised in Jamaica, when we talk about it, it's like his whole perspective on it is like, he did it. He caused a lot of issues for Jamaica, as far as the corruption with the government, paying people off, all kind of stuff. So I just think that, like, and I told my dad, I said, well, being here in America, like, I know he's a killer. I know, but it's just like, we just love Vybz Kartel. And I think it's because of the era he created for dancehall, especially if you grew up in Brooklyn, Queens, New York City, like just that era, like of dance hall and of bashments and of pasa, just that whole era, like Vybz Kartel was really essential to. So, we're not in support of murderers. We're not in support of, serial killers, but we just love Vybz Kartel. Now, Buju, he's home now. He's actually going to be performing July 13th in New York City, in Long Island, I believe, at UBS.
Yes.
Arena? Yeah. Yes. So, we getting the tickets, getting ready for that.
You got
not yet, but
you got one legend. You're not gonna get the other one, but you got one. You got one legend. And then almost last, Usher is Usher's gonna get the Lifetime Achievement Award at the BET Awards this year. Very good look for Usher. Usher's on a roll, man. But if there's any pause, Diddy won the award last year. So just realize how quickly this thing could go left. Stay on your P's.
Leave Usher alone.
Stay on them P's and Q's, Ush. And
I don't think Usher got no real.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
He do.
Remember, and I hate to keep bringing it up, but it Usher still had those accusations of giving the women the hurt. This was like different. That's different. I mean, with the hurt, just slid that to you.
Here's the thing: we just start conflating all these issues. Just how you tried to compare Diddy to R. Kelly, now you compare Usher to Diddy. Like, come on, like, no.
But again, I'm not comparing them. Not comparing them. I think, and again, I think I'm real enough to be like, yo, if you really ain't shit, you really ain't shit. Like, I'm not. It's no
right.
It's no levels to it, right? Like, if you out here doing stuff to women that is not okay, right?
Sure.
Like, we're not talking about little cheating, right? We're not talking about the small things. He gave somebody a hurt. That's a lifetime lifetime ban right there. What you gonna do
A
with
lot of
that?
people out here giving people diseases and herbs, not excusing it, but I just feel like there's a difference when you're doing something intentionally and when you're doing something that you're not really exactly sure of. Like, I feel like when it comes to that, I do think that if you are intentionally, if you're intentionally going out there just giving people stuff, there's a crime for things like that, especially HIV. There's a crime. So I'm not advocating like, yes, that's okay, that type of thing. I'm not advocating that either. But I don't look at that on the same scale as I look at Diddy or R. Kelly. Like, those are different monsters to me. Like, they're just different monsters to me.
I think
Anything on Usher, he's gonna have a great time at the BET Awards. He's being honored. It's very well deserved. I'm waiting for him to go on this world tour. He didn't start the world tour yet. I thought that after the Super Bowl he was starting the world tour.
it's not. I don't even think it kicks off till September. He waited. He sold them tickets out though. The tickets are sold out, but he waited. He will be at Essence Fest in July. I think that was the thing. He wanted to like really get the rollout before, so he's gonna get Essence Fest. He's gonna get the BET Awards. And again, I'm not trying to throw the man under the bus. This is known, right? Like, but I think that's the thing with a lot of these things, right? They snowball. We knew levels of people's histories, right? And then we act like we don't. And then when everything balloons, it's the shock and awe of it. And then all of a sudden, everybody got a story and so on and so forth. So I think that's where it gets tricky, right? Like, if we're going to celebrate these people like we did with Puff just a year ago, he got the BET Awards. He got the MTV Award salute. And then he got the Key to the City, among other things, right? So if we're going to do that, we have to discuss their history beforehand, right? Because even with one of the Grammys, I believe it was, which again, Diddy, and I think it's the Grammys, but it's like the Dr. Dre Award, right? Like, if you're going to give someone the Dr. Dre Award, then off rip, this whole award is problematic. Like, this whole award.
I'm not a fan of Dr. Dre. He's straight abusive.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, let's not be reactive. Let's be proactive. We know these things, and I think that's where I am.
The Dr. Dre Award. What the Beats by Dre Award?
Listen, it's like the Dr. Dre community. I'm gonna figure it out and circle that. It's like it's big. It's big stuff. Like, I'm not mad at him, right? Like, I'm not mad that he has this award, but we also have to like talk about it, right? Like let's not wait until Michelet comes back and says, I guess we gotta wait till Michelet pull out the video. It's the Dr. Dre Global Impact Award. Right? Like, Dr. Dre has an award named after himself at the Grammys.
So my question is, at what point do we separate the artist from the person? Because I think that's what it's about. Because if you're celebrating the artist, so in Diddy's sense, well-deserved artistry. The person, honestly, unless you're in that world, you don't know the person. That, like, we don't know these celebrities
for sure.
At the end of the day, they show up for work, just how we all show up for work, and we all got some stuff going on with us outside of work. They show up for work, and they're being honored at work. So I think that
I get
that's
that
the difference.
But like, then what happens is
going to separate. We're because none of us are psychologists, and see, that's the thing about this. Like, when it comes to public opinion and when it comes to like reputation, like, it's all connected. But none of us are psychologists. None of us are perfect. We all got some little secrets, some demons, or something that only certain people know, or maybe some people don't know. That's not to excuse these people at all. That's simply to say, when do we decide I'm looking at the artist as an artist? And all the other stuff and everything, that's a separate matter, and that's not cool either. It's not cool at all either.
I mean, and I'm totally in agreement with that. I'm not going to stop listening to anyone's music. That's always been the case. my thing is when these things come out again, or they get louder, because it's not like this is new info, but it gets louder. We get video, whatever the case may be. All of a sudden, it's we got to remove this honor from them. We got to stop playing bad boy music on radio. We got that's
too much.
Even Cosby, right? He lost all his honorary degrees, all his every honor he ever got, right? Like he got the Mark Twain Award. They took that away from him. Like, don't act like this don't exist, because and that's my only issue. So if that's the energy we going with, it's never going to be. We're not going to separate art from the person, and we have to do that from beforehand, before we even give them these honors.
So let me ask you a quick question, and we can honestly wrap this up. What is a viable punishment for some of these acts? So for like Diddy, R. Kelly, even Bill Cosby, what is a viable punishment outside of the criminal aspect of these things? Because I mean, if you did a crime and you got to go to jail, like, that's a whole separate law enforcement matter. But in terms of the culture, in terms of the career, in terms of the public opinion, like, what is a viable punishment for this kind of behavior, in your opinion?
I don't know. Because I think it gets so convoluted, right? Like, again, so I mean, we didn't mention it, but just great opportunity to mention Diddy. There's talks that Diddy's going to be put up before a grand jury, and all his sexual assault accusers are going to have their day in court, which will possibly lead to some sort of sexual, and just because there's so many, like I mentioned on a few shows ago, wouldn't be surprised if it's a RICO, right? And similar to how they charged R. Kelly. And that's where it starts to get complicated, right? Because it's one thing, we saw the video, we saw assault, right? That's one thing. But if you're not going to balloon that into a sexual assault thing, it becomes a lot harder. And yes, there's so many accusers, but there's also one lawyer involved who we know has a little shadiness to him. So all the accusers kind of had the same story. There's charges that have already been dropped. But again, if you're a DA, it's like, we got to do something. So I think that's where it starts to get like, okay, am I trusting this process? Do I feel like this is real? Should that person be banned? And I think what happens a lot of time is we look at some of these trials, we look at how everything plays out, and because it feels like a witch hunt rather than the legal process doing what it's supposed to do, we still love these artists. And you look at a Tory Lanez, you look at a R. Kelly, you look at Cosby. These are people that if they go on tour right now, they're still going to sell out, right? Like, in fact, they might have more or their fan base might be more invigorated. It's a lot of that Donald Trump effect we were talking about before. So I think that's where it gets tricky. Like, as much as I want to say, like, they should just disappear and you hear nothing from it, it'll be hard. They're promoting the Bad Boys movie and they still playing that. That Soul Shaker is like, not Soul Shaker, Tail Feather, Shake Your Tail Feather. Like, that's still a bop, right? Like, so it'll be so hard to completely remove them. Yeah. Can I say no Diddy music in the future? I can't. I don't know what to say. Like, I think that's where the fan base is now. But we've seen this with so many artists before. If you are big enough, if you have a huge enough name, you can bounce back. If R. Kelly puts something out on streaming services tomorrow, it's going top 10.
Yeah, we're waiting. Let me say that I already said for my wedding, on my wedding invitations, I will have a disclaimer. There will at least be 12 R. Kelly songs played. I don't care how you feel. But I grew up on R. Kelly.
Yeah.
Like, respectfully. So if you don't like it, don't come. It's just that. You know what I mean? So, but what I will say, though, is it's people who will look at the statement I just made and judge me, but they harboring and hiding secrets from their uncle that either touched them or touched somebody that they know. So let's be for real. Like, why are we so invested in punishing people that we're not even connected to? Like, but we giving grace to the people that we are connected to. That's crazy to me. That's so crazy to me that we hush little girls from talking about the uncle or the cousin, and or we hush little boys from talking about the uncle or the cousin or whatever the case may be. But you want a worldwide band trying to ban Diddy and R. Kelly, people you've never met before.
Mm-hmm.
But you letting your uncle slide. And
it's also
to
true.
me, I would just say, fix your house. Fix your house. At the end of the day, fix what's going on in your house. That's what I would say. Because it's not even my place to punish these people. That's how I feel about it. But we can move on.
Jumping into I mean that's a good lead off to the major conversation we have today, which is America too pro-sexual? So
yeah, man, for sure. I mean, I think that looking on the surface, you would definitely just say yes, period. Like, you know, when you look at other countries and when you look at, like, even when it comes down to, like, types of pornography or, you know, just certain things that aren't even allowed in certain countries, you know, certain things that are banned. And in America, we call it censorship. But most recently, there was a conversation or a dialogue back and forth between Cardi B and Candace Owens. Now, we know Candace Owens is not in support of Cardi B at all. So I think that Cardi B's response was just to kind of just insert herself and kind of trigger Candace. But basically, Candace Owens, she actually, I'm going to pull up exactly what she said on Twitter, but she made a really bold statement about pornography in the ban and putting a ban on pornography. And basically, what she said was that she said, ban pornography. It's a psychological weapon intended to weaken our men. So she said that on Twitter. Cardi B came back and said, oh my God, why y'all so against porn? Is it that bad for y'all? I enjoy it, but I don't know. I guess it's like a 6 times a year thing. I personally don't feel no connection or addiction to it. Just a little quick 1-2. Nothing like real intimacy. Then she said how it actually should teach men how to please a woman. So, you know, that was the conversation about pornography. Now, my opinion when it comes to pornography can be an addiction for some people. It definitely can. It's nothing like real intimacy at all. The problem I feel like when we talk about this conversation is America too pro-sexual is that I feel like, you know, there used to be a divide between strippers, regular women, sex workers, regular women, pimps, regular men, tricks, regular men, like, you know, pornography, regular sex. I feel like there was a clear divide, but I feel like now things are getting so muddled together because of all of these freedoms and just the way America is, you know. So now we don't really know the difference. So you see, you know, even when it comes down to how people dress and things like that, like you see a lot of women wearing lingerie outside. You see a lot of women wearing, you know, whether it's negligees with jeans or things like that. Like you see a lot of this. So it's like, where is the separation? And I think that because there's not a clear separation anymore, that's the reason why I think America is too pro-sexual. America has always been sexual. This is nothing new. America is, quote unquote, the land of the free. So we do have a lot of laws, a lot of liberties, and just a lot of cultural customs that are different from other countries that allow us to be more free, women to dress more provocatively, you know, things like that. Women to have more liberties, even, you know, men, or, you know, even when it comes around the idea of prostitution. So I think like America has kind of sensationalized prostitution. So I think, you know, that's the bigger conversation. It's really about the divide, because with there being a divide, there's always going to be the deviant lifestyle. There's always going to be that lifestyle. It's always been there. It's never going anywhere. It's always going to be there. It's actually, you know, $1 billion industry, porn, things like that. So it's not going anywhere. But when we don't know the difference between a woman, just a woman and a sex worker, when we don't really know that difference, that's when I think it's a real problem. And we are currently living that, because you got girls that are 18, they coming straight out of high school and they going to a strip club. Like, you didn't even try anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
they tried something. They tried that. You know, but I what I'll say is, I think, you know, we jumped right into the conversation and kind of the answer, but I'll say it's, the world might be too sexual, right? Prostitution, we know, is the world's oldest profession. I think what it is with America, it's the accessibility, right? Like, it is in your face, it is everywhere. And I don't know what it's like in Russia. I don't know. I've never been, you know,
right.
So I don't know how intense it is over there. But I know there's brothels all over the world. I know there's prostitutes all over the world. I know OnlyFans go off all over the planet. You know what I'm saying? And probably on other planets, right? But it's that accessibility now. And, you know, COVID did a number on us too, right? I think a lot of what we're seeing with the OnlyFans, everybody got an OnlyFans. Every time I turn around, somebody got a new OnlyFans.
Let me tell you how crazy this was during the pandemic. I watched a girl on my Instagram literally go from working, being a good mom, you know, page just full of family stuff, to online, shaking it, showing it, just all out there, advertising it, link up, Cash App, and it was really crazy to me. And the reason why I say it was crazy, because I feel like, you know, there's nothing wrong with reinventing yourself, but I just feel like you gotta know what you built for. And I feel like a lot of people are jumping into this lifestyle, and it's like, you're not built for that. You know what I mean? Like, it's certain women, it's certain men who, that lifestyle, they built for that lifestyle. And when I say they built for it, whether it's, you know, childhood trauma, whether it's issues, we all have been through something that kind of grooms us towards our lifestyle. And so there are certain people who can navigate that lifestyle successfully, you know. But there are some people that can do that. The problem now is that there are people that don't have that foundational background, meaning they didn't come from that. They don't even really know the rules to that industry or that game. They don't, which is, some of these rules and things like that are unspoken from just being around and from just being a part. So there are people that are inserting themselves into this lifestyle and thinking, okay, you know, I'm a hustler because I have OnlyFans, I have this, that, and the third. And that's cool. You may be a businesswoman. You may be indeed a hustler for sure. But the real situation is, you may be all of those things, but really you may not be ready for what comes with that. You may not know how to navigate that. And so then another thing too, once you put yourself in that light, you have to understand what comes with that, the consequences, how you will be viewed. So I think that sometimes women who are putting themselves in this, they're not ready to fully take that on. Right. You know, they're not ready to walk in that all day. You know what I mean? Because that's the difference between in the 90s or the 80s, when you was a stripper at night, but you went to school during the day or whatever. People didn't, the World Wide Web didn't know you. They didn't know what your insides look like. They didn't know that. So it didn't get its reach, you know, so far to be able to affect your kids, things like that. But now, you know, you don't have to go in a club. A man doesn't have to touch you, none of that at all. But you could be online and you could just be showing yourself, and it could still have effects on you, on your children, on your reputation, on how seriously you're taken. You know, it's just, it has a snowball effect. And my thing is, another thing too, there are some men that's okay with that. Meaning there are certain men that they come from that world. Pimps and hoes go together, quote unquote, right? So there are men who, whether they're pimps or not, they understand that. So they respect that. Cool. So, you know, that can work for a woman that's in that life, in that kind of man. But the problem becomes when you become a part of that life and now you're not understanding the consequences that come with it, or the ways that you have to move, or the things that you have to go through to even, you know, Because if you look at some of our big porn stars, like the Pinkies, the Sky Blacks, the Beauty Dior's, things like that. These are women, the Cherokees. These are women that are in their 40s, pushing 50s. None of them are married. None of them are married. And that's not to say maybe they don't want marriage. Maybe they don't. A lot of them don't even have kids, you know? But they're content with that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. But for the woman who's the regular day woman and who's just looking to make some extra money, because a lot of them, they're doing this for money because they're seeing other people like, well, she could do it and make this money. I'll see what she did. So, okay, but it's tons of ways to make money, especially online. Right. So, I'm not knocking it for women that's their lifestyle. Meaning they know how to navigate this. Like, they know how to keep themselves safe. They know the rules of this game. I'm not against that lifestyle for them. But for the regular average girl that should be in school, should be going to work, should have a second hustle, maybe should have a side business, I'm against it for them because this is not your lane.
Right. And I think, just for some context, right? Like people might be wondering why we're talking about this on Hustlers Anonymous, but it's become a hustle, right? Sure. And it's also influenced pretty heavily, at least in Black culture, because of hip hop, right? Like a lot of this has to do with what we're seeing. What we're seeing is rappers is opening up strip clubs, right? 2 Chainz got his, Snoop Dogg's wife just opened up hers, So you see that. Then you see every female rapper got a BBL, right? Just this week, Erica Banks, she popped out on stage. Booty looked like something out of I don't even know what it looked like.
I was saying, I'm like, is that real? But you know what it is?
It's not real.
I have a few friends who have BBLs. What people don't know about BBLs is that they get bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And my friends have told me this. They get bigger
because they start to spread.
So your best bet is if you are going to do it, get it small. Because it's going to get big anyway, if you are going to do it. So people think like, oh, like the legs are just not matching and they got it like that. It didn't look like that at first. Yeah. It became like that, And
that's another thing with surgery. Any sort of surgery where you are enhancing or changing a part of your body, the struggle is your body's going to conform or not conform, right? And it becomes something that you have to continue to put energy into. Whether you got to go back for molding, whether you got to go back for a touch-up. Like, this isn't no one time. I know people think, like, okay, I'm just going to put this 10 bands down, say this 10 bands, but do this surgery one time, and I'm good. No, that's the beginning. It's the beginning of a process, and that's how you have a Blac Chyna who you start with one surgery and then all of a sudden your whole body changes. Because at that point, you like, yeah, I'm going to surgery anyway. Might as well just do another one, right? Or do another part of my body. So it's just the intensity of it. But you have Lotto who also just had a BBL story this week, right? Mm-hmm. But again, that's just the surface level, right? We have, again, another set of female rappers who we know are former strippers, right? That's the Cardi B's, the Cash Dolls of the world, right? Like, that's literally how you made it from point A to now you're this celebrity. I think where the pandemic kind of played a role too, P Valley didn't help, right? Like, great show.
Down right? In it with a girl.
No, it's a great show if you're just looking for the entertainment value, but it made it look great, right? It made the stripper life look amazing.
Sensationalized. It definitely, it's sensationalized it.
And that's the thing. Like, a lot of this is just it's highlighted how great the second income could be, or just the income, right? Because nowadays we just have stories about this celebrity made such and such million from 24 hours on OnlyFans, right?
Right.
Not realizing, like, okay, they're a celebrity. They have a following. People just want to check it out just to see what's happening, right? Whether or not you actually doing stuff. But then you also have these OnlyFans leaks every few months just to keep the joint hot, right? Like, I'm gonna drop this leak just so people know it's really going down. That's kind of calmed down in the last few months, but
Right. And see, I've seen a lot of men saying, like, now y'all know what it's like to be a struggling rapper. Like, because, like you said, it's women that are making that kind of money because they have a following already. So you think that you can do it and you think that it's easy. No, it's still work. Like, that's the thing. Like, creating content is work. It's not easy. So that's why I'm saying, like, this is not for everybody, because these women who are successful on OnlyFans, like, this is really their lifestyle, their job. They do this. You know what I mean? Like, they spend certain amounts of money on their wardrobe, their look. They're constantly doing videos. They got an editor. They got a videographer. They got a photographer. They're paying somebody to do their business stuff, their logo. Like, it's a business. It's not just, oh, I look cute and I can do little content. Like, no, like, you have to be, it's a job. You have to be consistent at it. So I think, like, you have to make up your mind. Like, if this is what you want to do, meaning when girls go to the strip club, they bartend and they strip for a little bit or whatever, they get their money up, they invest in their body because they decided that they're making this a lifestyle and a career for however long it lasts, right? So they're going through the necessary steps. We all go through the necessary steps, whether, you start an entry level job and then you're working your way up. So they go through the necessary steps because they're making it a career, they're making it a lifestyle. That's completely different from, somebody who's just trying to do it as a hustle and doesn't realize the negative effects that it has on you. Because when you're making it a lifestyle, that means you don't care. You out, you showing it, you popping, it's whatever, you don't care about your reputation. You're not going to look for a job. You know what I mean? You're probably never going to go look for a job, and you're okay with whatever comes with that. But if you are a person who, you do work, this is a second income for you, or you're trying to do it on a low, or like, it's not either you coming with it full force and you got to be okay with what comes with that. And that's just how I feel. It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. It's interesting because I went to high school with a girl that when I was in high school, the girl was pregnant. But it's so funny because I feel like I've seen a girl pregnant more than once, but she only has one kid. But that's but it's like, I've seen you pregnant more than once. Like, not just like, oh, you was pregnant, because I wasn't that close for her to know. So I'm seeing you're pregnant, but you only have one kid now. That's fine, right? The girl winds up coming to Howard with me for like 2 years. I guess the girl dropped out. I know she didn't graduate. We were in the same major. The girl is on Facebook showing it all, doing videos, doing $50 videos for rappers, to their songs. Like, you get what I'm saying? But the thing about it is, when I look back and think about her, even though I didn't know her that well, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, it makes sense that girl would be doing that. You get what I'm saying? So I can respect that because I knew the kind of, like, what she was into back. Like, it's certain people that's going to do certain things. So it's like, I could expect that and I could respect that because she understand the game. You get what I'm saying? Even though she's smart, she went to Howard for 2 years. She clearly got in, but she feels that she's best at, doing that. And that's cool. Versus somebody that, girl, that's not your lifestyle. Like, you don't even know how to talk to men for real. Like, you don't even know how to talk to men. You don't even know how to talk to the men that you deal with to get what you want. It's like, how you gonna deal with these strangers trying to get in their pockets and trying to do all this and seduce them? Like, you're not even sexy naturally. Like, you're not even sexy naturally. Like, you have to do all of that just to have some kind of sex appeal, but you trying to sell your sex appeal. So it's just, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it too, we have to, as far as like what's happened with sex culture over the last few years. And I mean, it was already popular, right? Pretty Woman is still one of the biggest movies ever, right? So it was already popular. But I think, once again, Democrats and progressives got to this point where it's like, let's remove the pimp culture, right? Like, if we remove the pimp culture and we prosecute pimps and we make it so that women are more emboldened and more responsible for their body, and they can do whatever they want with their body without men dictating it, that makes it better. And that's complicated things, right? Because it's put us in a place where prostitution is decriminalized in a similar way to weed, right? Like, listen, in Brooklyn, there's a whole avenue where you know where it goes down at if you know, right? Like, the only reason I know is because I read about a newspaper.
Now this,
not never,
we all
not never,
and them back skirts, we know.
Not never have I. However, I'm sure I know people.
I'm not judging.
Listen, there's plenty of songs about not paying for it, and that is me. I could never pay for it, and listen, I can't knock someone who does. It just OnlyFans don't make no sense to me. But you know, I'm a hustler, right? And money is important to me, so I'm not about to just waste it when a commodity doesn't need to be purchased, right? Like, it's not something I got to pay for. Well, I'm paying for it. It's ridiculous to me. Sheesh. Anyway, but yeah, we decriminalize it in such a way that you've allowed women to have this agency over their body and have this ability to do whatever they like. And as such, it really has put us in a position of what we finna do, right? So it's so interesting. I guess the question we have to ask, should OnlyFans be banned?
I say no, and the reason why I say no is because some people really can't do nothing else. like some people really don't got it in them to, because if they did, they would have did it. Like, you feel me? Like, some people don't got it in them to, because whichever way you hustle, it's work. Being a 9 to 5 clock, having to get up, having to, deal with all types of personalities, having to, like, that's work. Just like creating content and stuff is work. Some people, if they don't do that, they ban Backpage, which I kind of want to do a little bit more research on that, because I don't know the full scope. And, I'm sure they probably got some under, like, what you call it, black market type of Backpage. I'm sure they got something like that.
They definitely do.
But, they banned Backpage. That's one.
But and they did that because of the pimp culture too. It was a lot of pimps on there. It was a lot of underage sex happening. It was a lot of like that. So
the thing is, the reason why I feel like they shouldn't ban it is because either way, it's going to be reinvented.
Right.
Whether you ban this OnlyFans, they got other apps that's not called OnlyFans, and they try to disguise it as something else, and it's the same thing. So, I feel like with OnlyFans, you eliminate crime because less women are in the strip club, less women are in like certain, certain environments where they can be assaulted, things like that. If you're in the comfort of your home creating content, it really eliminates like that extra crime, unless you're underage doing it and it's a crime already. But, so that's my take on it. I say no because there are some people that just, they can't do anything else. They can't go to school. They can't go get a job. They can't do it. This is what they know to do. It's a lot of people like that do it as a job. Like, this is what they know to do. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a lot of people on OnlyFans, a lot of trans people who do OnlyFans to raise the money for their surgeries. I know some of them personally. Like, and if they're not on OnlyFans, they on seeking arrangements pretty much like call girls.
Yeah.
So, it's not gonna stop. So
heavy on the
OnlyFans isn't the problem. Like, the culture of this is, and it's not gonna stop. It's just gonna be reinvented.
Right. Heavy on the what would you do if your son was at home crying alone on the bedroom floor because he's hungry?
You know what you're gonna do.
All right, parlay with Penny segment. I know you got a story you want to talk about.
Yes, so sad to say. Most recently, there was a murder-suicide in Brooklyn, New York, over the weekend, and pretty much Teddy Knight, 35, he shot and killed his child's mother. Last name Blackwood. I think her name, it starts with a T. I don't want to butcher her name, but he killed her in front of his mom, and he stomped on her face. He shot her in front of his mom. There were records. This is in Brooklyn, I believe, Midwood. So there are records basically of really accounts from the people that lived in the building that they lived in, that they were always fighting. There was always some issues. They were always fighting. They were a really like loud couple. The mom said that they were most recently fighting because her son was dealing with a lot. The rent, the kids, they had 2 kids together. They were fighting. And actually the child's mother, she secured a new apartment. She was actually going to move. And he knew about it, and he didn't like it. And she was packing her clothes, trying to go, and he shot and killed her and stomped on her face, and then he killed himself. So, very sad story. Because I don't know this woman personally, but I'm from Brooklyn. She's from Brooklyn. And a lot of my Facebook friends do know her personally. So, it's just very sad to hear about the situation. Sad for the children, especially because the children had to witness this. Now they don't have any parents. They don't have a mother and they don't have a father. So very selfish on his behalf because, you could have just killed yourself. At least give the kids their mom, like it. So of course, this is a mental health issue. This is not something to be taken lightly at all. Mental health is a huge problem in the Black community, and it affects both Black men and Black women. So, when it comes to mental health, I just want to read some stats because this is a serious topic, and this is not funny to me.
I know you're using this one story, but this is becoming all too common in the city. Like this is happening twice a week. So although we're just highlighting this story, there's so many of these stories just from the last year, and especially since COVID.
Right. And it's so interesting because according to the American Psychology Association, Black men are 4 times as likely. Actually, this is according to the CDC. I got the article from American Psychology Association, but Black men are 4 times as likely to die from suicide as Black women. So that's one thing. And it's really sad. Black American adults are 20% more likely to experience serious mental health problems such as major depressive disorder or generalized anxiety disorder. So that's another stat that we have here of how mental health is affecting and killing our communities. And when you think about this, it's so easy to say, well, people aren't going to therapy. Black men aren't going to therapy. They don't want to talk to nobody. They don't want to open up to nobody. But respectfully, we all need a safe space to open up to. And when you look at the field of psychology and how racist it is and how racism actually jump-started the entire industry. And when you look at the fact that there's only 5% of Black people in this industry, and most of them are Black women, where will Black men feel safe to talk to? They got to go to therapy and talk to a Black woman who doesn't understand the intricate issues that Black men go through. So it's kind of sad because you can say go to therapy, but it's like, who am I talking to at therapy as a Black man? Who's going to understand what I'm going through? Which is why Black men, they spend hours in a barbershop. Which is why Black men don't cheat on their barbers. They have the same barber because it's just a connection that they have where they feel safe. They feel like someone understands them. They can vent. They can talk. We all want to be heard, and we all want to be heard, and we all want to be accepted and understood. And I think that is the main issue why we as Black people, period, aren't going to as much therapy, but also we as Black men aren't going as well. So, like you said, we decided to highlight this story, but this has been happening very frequently in the city. Mental health is really an issue. People are going crazy because of the high rent prices. People are going crazy because of the lack of housing. People are going crazy because of how much things cost, the cost of food. It's just really sad. And all I can say is please take care of yourselves, whichever way you want to do it, and whether you go to church. I think sometimes we don't know. So here's the thing. It's a loaded topic because there's so many intricate parts involved. So if you talk about that psychology, it's only 5% of Black people psychology. What does that mean? More Black people need to become psychologists. If most of the Black people that are psychologists are Black women, what does that mean? More Black men need to become psychologists. What does that mean? We need to stop grooming our children or our Black children just to be in certain industries. That's one. We need to teach them about other industries. Psychology, development, community development, things that can actually impact our community as a whole. Those are the careers that we need to be putting people in. I studied community development as a minor, and I learned that there are so many facets of community development. So you have education, you have housing, you have jobs, employment, it's just so many facets of just how do we develop and revitalize a community. Developers. So when we talk about gentrification, who are the big developers going into these communities? There are not too many Black developers. And that's not to say that there's not enough Black wealth. There's Black wealth. But are we teaching our kids about these particular industries? Not you just becoming a real estate agent or you investing or flipping homes and things like that. No, that's a personal thing. But when it comes to revitalizing the community and, we can learn these things and we can actually be in these industries so we can actually make change. Like that's really making change. And I think, that's a loaded topic. That's a loaded topic. But, I wanted to speak on that because I didn't want to harp on how angry I am at this man for killing this woman and himself. Very angry. Would like to use other words to describe him, but I'm not going to because I'm trying to grow. But I think that at the end of the day, anger aside, it's a bigger issue.
Yeah.
And
it's a community conversation that needs to happen.
The fact that he did that in front of his mother, to me, it's a whole nother thing. But see, that's another thing because he probably watched his mother get abused. I can't say that he did, but probably because something really got to be going on for you to do that. Not just something's going on because you did it, but then you did it in front of your mother. So you don't even have you're not even cognizant of even your self-image.
Yeah.
That's how you know you're gone.
Yeah.
And just a sad day, a sad situation. These kids have to grow up probably with their grandmother. Hopefully the grandmother keeps the kids and they don't go into the system or anything like that. But just a selfish situation. I think that this mental health, I think that the reason why this is an important conversation for Hustlers Anonymous is because we can't allow the hustling to get in the way of our mental health. We can't allow to just be on the grind, on the hustle and not put that time in or that money in for a therapist. Or for a lot of people don't know, you can go talk to your pastor. You can go talk to even people at your church or your whatever religious facility that, you attend. Even if you don't want to go to a psychiatrist, quote unquote, you can go and talk to your spiritual leaders, your spiritual advisors, or, it's just sad.
And that's unfortunate. We don't know what the level of mental health issues were here. We don't know if this is just abuse. We don't. And unfortunately, again, a lot of this continues to stem from COVID. It stems from just everything that happened because of COVID, right? Like you had people who weren't able to see their therapist or lost touch with their therapist because of the pandemic. You had people who, because of the pandemic and being in the house, they were stuck. So they couldn't get the therapy they needed, or, they developed issues during that time. So it's very sad. But hopefully Black men, Black people in general can figure out some of these issues and find healthy ways to cope and deal with whatever they're dealing with so that they can better their hustle. Right. At the end of the day, you wanna be on top of your game, and that's the only way to do that is to be on top of yourself.
For sure. And one thing I will add is that if you don't want to go to a therapist or you don't want to talk to somebody that call a crisis hotline. I have done it many times. I'm not afraid to say that I have, because guess what? That will make a difference between waking up the next day. It can. You can call a crisis hotline for free. You can talk to a stranger. Sometimes it's best to talk to strangers just to release things. Do that. You don't gotta call your friends or your family if you don't, want their judgment or something. Just don't sit in silence. Don't sit in silence. Call a hotline. There are free mental health services that you can take advantage of. And sometimes we just need a quick fix. Sometimes we're not at the point where we want to commit to a full out therapist, see them every week and tell them all of our life stories. Sometimes we don't have that in us. Sometimes we're going through something right then and there that we need to talk about.
Yeah.
Call a hotline. Don't sit in silence. Please don't.
On that note, we're going to get up out of here. Another great episode, episode 6. We talked about sex, but we talked about a lot of other things as well.
Right. We thought we were going to talk about sex so much, but...
Right. Definitely follow us on social media. At Parlay Mag is the magazine. At Parlay with me is me personally.
And Penny Blackwright, so it's no K in Blackwright, it's BLACWRITE. I'm Penny Blackwright on everything, PennyBlackwright.com. I'm on TikTok. I'm on every platform. It's Penny Blackwright. So
we'll see y'all soon.
We'll see you soon.